All right, coming to you with another episode of the Insurance Man Don't Shoot. We've got a new guest today, Norberto Hernandez. How you doing?
Adam, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for the invitation, man. And very proud of you. Great show. I'm a big follower on your podcast, so congratulations.
Hey, thank you, man. It's awesome to have you here. For the people out there that don't know you, tell us about Norberto, who you are, where you come from, your background, that kind of stuff.
Of course. Yeah. Well, my name is Norberto Hernandez. I am from Mexico, the beautiful country of Mexico. But I'm from Veracruz State, which is a little town called Chacaltianguis, Veracruz. I'm 54 years old. Then I emigrated to the United States in 1991, Corpus Christi, Texas. So I went to college in Mexico. I started to be an engineer. I didn't finish my career. I was about, close to 19 years old when I immigrated to the States. Then I met my wife, married for 33 years, going on 34, 2 kids.
Congratulations.
27 and 23. Thank you. And they're both also ages with Lincoln Heritage.
That's awesome, man. So what were you doing previous, and how long have you been in the final expense?
Okay. So back in Corpus Christi, I was studying communications. I went back to college. I was working at Sam's Club, different positions in Sam's Club. And then I got a job at a radio station as a DJ. After working about close to 2 years, there was an opportunity to work with Univision, Univision is the #1 Spanish station television in the country. And I was offered a position of weather anchor. And so I started back in 1996 in Corpus Christi, moving to different markets, which is started in Corpus Christi, then moved to San Antonio, and then here in the Metroplex area in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome, man. And so you were on the air doing the weather at like a daily basis?
I was on air talent. Yeah, believe it or not, it was a great experience working. When I started, I was gonna be a reporter, so that was the position that I was gonna get. But all of a sudden, they switched everything. They told me, you know what? You're going to be doing the weather. We need a weather anchor. And I told them, I said, man, I never studied to be a meteorologist. I said, don't you worry. We're going to train you. So I got trained and then I worked for 20 years doing the weather. But when I was in Corpus Christi, I also applied to work with the same station, which is Univision, but to work with network with the programs that they're national. And I was doing entertainment for very well-known shows in the country. And so I did reporting in Corpus Christi, San Antonio, and also here in Dallas for many different shows.
That's awesome, man. So you're probably pretty well known in that area. When you go out there, do you get people that recognize you?
Yes, very well known. I mean, people know who I am. I mean, I left the station back in 2013. I was fired. I lost my job because in the end, you're an employee. There's no difference than any other employee. So I lost my job and it was a really bad situation. I got depressed. I thought the world was going to collapse. None of that happened, thanks to my wife who saved the family. She was the first one from the family when she started working with Lincoln Heritage. She was the one who found Lincoln Heritage. Thank the Lord for her.
That's awesome, man. I know, I went through something similar in 2008, and just like you said, I went from making about $600,000 a year to nothing overnight. I lost houses, cars. I was super depressed, and again, like you feel like the world's ending, right? And it's like I felt like humiliated, like my business had failed, and finding this opportunity definitely is a life changer for me as well. How did your wife find Final Expense, and was Lincoln the first company that you guys started with?
Well, who better than her to tell that story? Because she's right here. I want to introduce Esme Hernandez. She's also an agent. Come closer to me right here. We're just gonna move a little bit the camera.
Hi, how are you, Esme? Nice to meet you.
Well, this is an honor. We always catch your podcasts, and I just can't believe we're on as guests. We're excited.
That's awesome. So tell us, how did you find life insurance, and how did you find Lincoln Heritage?
Well, I just shared this story not too long ago with one of our opportunity meetings that we have through Lifetime Marketing. It was a hit or miss for a whole decade, believe it or not. I started when we moved here to Dallas, which was in 2008. I got my PNC and started with farmers. It just was not the right timing because my kids were still young and I needed to be more at home. And my husband was very involved full time in television. And so it then progressed from there. After some time, I then got my entire the general lines for Aflac. I then started with Aflac because it just didn't work with farmers. And again, I fell flat on my face and I thought, wow, why is this so difficult? I have these licenses and it's so hard. It's a bittersweet feeling. And some years later, my husband, we just, in the business that we were doing, we had also a marketing production company. And this was pre-pandemic. We were doing well. I was helping him, whatever I could always assist with, either camera, invoices, whatever needed to be done. And he told me one day, he said, Esme, you should try to get your license again to work with Aflac because the gentleman that he had signed up with for benefits at Univision was kind of after his network of business people, and he would see all these commercials we would do on Facebook. And I fought that for a couple of times. He told me, he says, get your license again. I said, no, no. So to make a long story short, he's in heaven. I got my license again. And I went full throttle with Aflac. I thought I'm determined to make something work with the insurance. And for 4 months, I worked diligently, being present at meetings, setting appointments, going with the upline to, Aflac is very difficult because there's a lot of moving, objects that you need to put together. Talk to the manager, talk to the employees, etc. So for 4 months, I worked and I did not make one dime. I'm embarrassed to say. And I thought, I have to make this work. It'll work. And we're talking a duration of in and out through 10 years. So finally, Norberto told me, he said, I just don't see that you're progressing at all. I mean, imagine 4 months.
Yeah.
So I was so distraught and just, I felt disillusioned with everything. And at that time, I remember I was 48 years old. And the next morning, of course, I cried. I just felt I wasted a year of my time because it took me 6 months to get that license again. It's the general lines, the accident, life, health, HMO. And then I worked 4 months with making no money. So that's almost a year. That was 10 months.
Yeah.
And I'm going to I'll give the speaker back to you.
No, 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 no. No. It's what?
You know what it was? It was my boys and my husband, but more my boys. I didn't want them to see that I have failed at this again. It was a very hard thing. I was trying to make something work and it was very, very difficult. Aflac is very difficult to sell. So I remember that night I was so distraught. The next morning I woke up feeling like it was Christmas morning. I had such hope. And I knew that I said, wait a minute, I have life with all those licenses. And I thought of final expense because I remember one time I heard a client of ours mention final expense. So I quickly Googled the best life insurance final expense company in the US. And it popped up. The first one on that search engine was Lincoln Heritage. And I read the entire website. I went in, looked at the careers, and I fell in love with how simple. It's so simplified, the application and the underwriting. So I called the 800 number and I got someone in Phoenix, home office. And I shared my story quicker than this. I said, I have my license. I said, do y'all have an agency in Dallas? And they said, yes, we do. They said, we will get you, in contact with someone there. And they said, do you have your license right now? I said, I have everything and I have the drive. I'm ready to make something of this. And sure enough, Adam, to end the story, I dove into what it is with Lincoln Heritage. I signed my contract, met with the gentleman that signed me up at Long, and within 2 weeks, I wrote my first policy. $700 was in my bank account the next day. I kid you not. I was in such disbelief. I was in shock. I just could not believe
Me too.
that after all this time, and it was so simple. I was just sharing that I was in this business and helping families obtain final expense. And that's how it happened.
Yeah, for me, it was like, man, that was pretty fast. Because at that time, I got a job also with as a freelancer with Telemundo. So I was working for network. But for me to make, I mean, I would make $1,000 per story, but it would take me about 3-4 days, to produce, edit, do this.
Right. Yeah.
That this woman, she made $700 in like less than 2 hours. I was like, the hell? I was like, man, that was fast. I want to do that. And she invited me. She said, well, that was before pandemic. So I got my license and then I study and everything. And I was, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, because initially what happened was I told him, I said, Norb, you would do great in this business because people already know you. And, he was a celebrity figure. I said, people will connect with you immediately. So he was just, flirting with the thought, yeah, we'll see. But when pandemic hit and we were all quarantined here in North Texas for 2 whole weeks, during that time we lost all our clientele, our roster of clients that we did videos for. So that was a harsh wake-up call. That was when Norb said, what do I need to do to study? And at that time too, he had met other agents within the organization that were more involved in Spanish. And that was his focus, obviously, which is his first language.
And so you got your license. What was your start like when you got out there? And you said primary focus.
It was awful, man. Awful.
It was awful.
I was about to quit because the thing is, it took time at the beginning. I thought it was going to be
just like
easy. That's like, wow, man, people know me and everything. But it was, I would say, the thing is that I was still doing freelancing and I had to let go, one of two things. I said, if I continue freelancing, I'm going to be doing that. But the thing is that I put value on both. I said, okay, what am I going to get in 20 years, freelancing? And what am I going to get with Lincoln Heritage in 20 years? So I put the balance and I said, well, I know I'm not doing anything right now, but I have to focus on one thing. Because if there's a lot of people doing this business, they still have a job, and they don't do anything with Lincoln. And I have to let go, man. I have to let go. It was tough to let go something that I was working for more than 20 years, 23 years.
For example.
Yeah.
But it was something that I have passion, for, because I was doing it for so many years. And this was something new for me, but it took me, I would say, probably about 2 months.
2 months.
And all of a sudden, everything started like booming. Our first year, it was what, about 600?
600,000 AP.
A little bit of 600.
That was in 2021.
That was in 2021.
We tore it up because of the pandemic. So
just in Spanish.
That is phenomenal. 600,000 your guys' first year is incredible.
Yeah.
Working together,
man. It was, we would have 7-8 appointments a day. Every single day. It was crazy, man. But that was a beautiful.
How were you guys setting that schedule? And were you guys running those appointments together typically? Or do you guys work apart and then also together?
Yeah, we were working, most of it was together because we would be working faster and moving from one appointment to the next one. There were some times where we have to split and she would go to one appointment and then I would go to another one. But it was always working together. We made a great duo, Batman and Robin. It was like helping families and it was great.
Well, during that time, everyone, the insecurity of our mortality, really, I think, was on the forefront of everyone's mindset that, hey, we're not, immortal. We can die. COVID was wiping families, out. And the Hispanic community is underinsured. And they don't have anything. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you see how important it is to have something in place for your family, that's when the taboo of oh, I don't want to talk about death, it went away quick because death was everywhere with the COVID. It was daily hearing about outbreaks, how people died and respiratory, and it was really something that was surreal. And so I think the connection was when they, people, the community started to find out that Norberto was selling final expense. It was someone of trust that, he had that face of trust in the community. And that is kind of how we started moving quick to help this particular demographic, because a lot of these families had nothing, nothing. And it was so to the point we were overworked that I got one of my youngest son. I told him, can you get your license so you can kind of help, when I can't, you can help your dad, because we would do things fast as a team to move on to the next appointment or to look at the whatever leads we had. So it became a team within the family. And then soon thereafter, my other son got his license. It took him, he wasn't sure. And then after a while, he got his license to kind of help. And I would go out with him. And then my husband would go out with my other son. So it became a family affair, working to help other families obtain, this important coverage.
Yeah. So you guys are not only a powerhouse couple, a powerhouse family. And that's freaking awesome. That
Yeah,
is so awesome.
and
Thank you.
Adam, that every agent has, we all have different presentations, because the way we got trained, it was kind of like, it was a good training. We always learn from everybody, but we kind of like discover a certain way to kind of like connect with people. And this was Esme's idea, to kind of like do pre-qualification at the beginning, not to, for us not to be spending a lot of time, because sometimes agents, they tend to kind of like pre-qualify at the end, but then sometimes people don't qualify. You see, and you spend about 40 minutes, about an hour, and then the person at the end, there was something that they did not qualify, or there was something there that, So for us, it was kind of like do pre-qualification at the beginning. That was a huge success, because people didn't feel like they were being sold. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They were, okay, wow, I have to pre-qualify first in order for me to have these benefits. We're not here to sell you anything. First, we're here to see if you qualify. Let's find out. So she would kind of like be acting kind of like a nurse, learning all these medications. And, like Hispanics, we are filled with medications, man. And just to learn every single name, and what is it for what, and kind of like people would like, man, these people know what they're doing, like when talking about metformin, Enopril, and all these medications. So that really, this type of presentation that we do, it's about 97% effective to close
Wow.
to families.
So you guys are definitely, literally from the minute you talk to somebody, you're positioning yourself different, not as just a salesperson, but really as like a trusted advisor that, taking that sales pressure off.
Yes. And this was, hit or miss. When we started working and we were very busy, we couldn't afford to waste time, because there was no time to waste. We were helping families, and there was an urgency. And that's one thing that we always we implement, that there is an urgency. Let me see how I can help you. Let me see, what medications are you taking today? And we go through the significant health questions from the, past 2 years. And once we get that in place, I want to see medications, especially if they don't have a social security number. I need to see everything that you've taken. So there is a certain sense of being real with the person. I'm not here to sell you. I got to first see if you qualify and how I can help you. And once we started doing that, people would, first cross their arms, thinking, oh, you're going to sell me. And then they would let go little by little of that, of their demeanor, of their, how they were projecting, I'm not interested. And from there, we started learning how this is really effective. We're showing them that we're not here to sell them. We're here to help them. And, of course, if they qualify at that moment, that is wonderful. You got to also put that sense of urgency that now's the time to get covered. Because, if an illness comes, then it's going to quadruple in cost, or you may not even qualify. So that was, it became a routine. And till this day, if Norberto's on the phone setting up an appointment, he'll quickly pre-qualify them. He wants to know if it's, just for that person or a couple, and then he starts asking the health questions.
So you're going out there already kind of knowing what you're walking into, and then you're establishing that trust relationship before your appointment. Do you see that makes a big difference on your show rate of how many people actually like are at your, like if you book an appointment, that it's helped that show rate?
Yes.
Most definitely.
Oh yeah. I want to say doing that when Nork sets up the appointment, and this could be from, the cold leads, he's calling and then he has a script that he goes through and pre-qualifies them. So it does kind of put a lot of not just the urgency, but the seriousness. We're serious about this. We're putting this date. We're going to be there to meet with you and your husband. And he, that has been our success. I think it's raised our the sales. I think a ratio of maybe 8 out of every 10 that we can
That you're
that
converting.
we say, hey, we're successful in closing these, because also we have learned how to answer an objection with a question. That's another thing that was implemented.
The beauty of our business, I mean, a lot of agents, they when they start doing this business, they kind of like don't like most of it when they go out, knock on doors and be with people, they don't sell anything. But we learned that when you do that, it doesn't matter if they say no, you're still learning. And what you're learning also, it's kind of like psychology, because there's different type of people that you kind of know. The more people the more people you're in front of, talking to them, so you start knowing the type of clients that they are. There are not that many different of clients. It's kind of like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And you start learning a little bit of the psychology. You see, this person is this type, so I can go this way. This one, a different way, and so forth. So we see a lot of people every day, and it doesn't matter for me if I don't sell anything. I'm still learning every time, because you never know everything. And this business, you're always learning.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
either
no,
learning or
always
dying.
What was that?
I said you're either learning or dying. That's Jack Lennon used to say that.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. And now we started working with our agency. We have a small agency. I mean, we don't have that many agents, but the thing is that now it's also time to grow as a manager. I'm a manager. This is I would say my second year as a manager.
Is it second or third?
Second year. I think I'm on my second year. On November, it'll be 2 years. So now it's, going with training, and now it's taking a little time also from producing.
Well, Norberto you just had an anniversary, 5th year anniversary.
My 5th year. Yeah. 5 years.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So initially starting, because, that's what a lot of people, the insurance industry as a whole has a pretty high failure rate. I've heard that a lot of times, the number I've consistently heard is like 92% of agents fail their first year. And again, especially that first month, 60 days, 90 days is so crucial. What were some things that you guys used to continue to move forward on days when you felt like giving up or quitting?
Well, see, the things, one of the things is most of the agents, if not all the agents, we work with leads. Okay. So you have to create the activity, no matter what. You have to, if you don't have activity, that's it. You're unemployed, you stay home, but you don't do anything. The thing is that I also work with social media. I do a lot of social media. And between social media and the leads, we do have a lot of success because I do videos, I do lives, and that helps a lot, for my business also to continue always. If people they're not interested, it doesn't matter. Sometimes those live people share those videos and it goes, viral, and it does help a lot. It does help a lot to maintain and have that activity every day. Our business never closes, man. We are 24 hours.
Yourself. That's what
Yeah.
we tell our agents. You got to sell yourself. Number one, and believe in the product. Number two, if you don't believe in what you're promoting, what you're selling, the chances are you're not going to convey because that will be conveyed. It could be in an indiscreet way, but a lot of these persons of interest, people that we're trying to help, they're very aware and they're smart. They don't want to be sold.
And one of the things that is the agents need to be connected with their uplines. That was one of the things for us that we will always be in connect with our upline since the beginning. And even because our upline would say, even you sell or not sell, get in contact with me and let me know what's going on. So we would do that, or sometimes if we didn't sell anything in a house, we asked them and say, what would you do if this person, it's this and this, and learn from that. And that was our way also to grow, and that is something that new agents need to do, always be in contact with their upline.
100%. I think that's either a big red flag when agents don't, whenever they enter the witness protection program and you can't get a hold of them. But the ones, a huge commonality that I've always seen is exactly that, right? And it was something that I recall, like my first day in the field, I feel like I called my manager like 12 times, and I'm feeling bad, and he's like, keep calling me because that means you're making money, right? Like, I sold I think 3 or 4 policies, and he's like, I'll take your calls. Doesn't matter, you call me 10 o'clock, whatever. Just stay in contact. And I think when agents can understand that concept of, there is no bad questions, and if they're putting in the activity, they should be running into things that they're not going to know, right? And so it's usually a good indicator if an agent's going to succeed or fail, the level of communication that they're continuing with that upline. I think that's a very, very crucial part.
Right. I mean, also one of the things that a lot of people, especially we know that there's a lot of part-timers, people that they have their full-time job and they say, I want to do this part-time. But what is your part-time? How many hours you're willing to sacrifice to do this business? Because you have to do something. And in a way, if you want to really grow in this business, you have to let go your job. Because in the end, you're going to be making more money here than working 40 hours a week, having a schedule that sometimes, you don't spend time with your family. And that's one of the things, Lincoln has, even though I worked for a TV station and it was a beautiful job and everything, but let me tell you something. We never, ever had the chance to take a whole month vacation, ever since I worked with Univision.
So let's to Europe.
Never. Our second year with Lincoln, we went for a month to Europe.
I love that. Where did you guys go?
We love Italy. So that was our first time going to Europe. So we did kind of like
to Rome.
We went to Rome the year before we went with Lincoln.
Okay.
We went to different places.
Yes. So then tried, we love wine and everything.
We also flew to France.
Yeah. So Milan, we went to Florence, the Tower of Pisa, Lake Como, and traveled, we did the train thing.
The train's awesome over there, huh?
It was beautiful. And then we went also to Paris.
It was the best feeling in the world. I remember we shared that, we're going to be taking this trip to our regional manager, Mike Morgan, and he was so excited because he says, y'all have really worked hard, and it just makes me happy to see that you are pampering yourself in such a way. When Norb worked, diligently with Univision for 20 years, it was very rare. I mean, even to take 5 days was going to be a lot. And it was difficult, because his devotion to his work at that time, was, amazing. And, sadly, management changes and, you they don't see and they don't care. And that was, I think, the wake up call for him is he said, out of all those years, what did I, accomplish as far as towards my retirement? And, one thing you mentioned about the new agents, I want to advise them to make a short and a long-term goal. It's important because that is going to keep your focus. A short-term goal of 3 to 6 months and a long-term goal of 1 year to 5 years. So when you have a goal set, it keeps you motivated and focused. And, that was kind of when we started working together. Our first goal was to obtain the Cigna insurance. That was the first one. And we did it in record time. Norberto really, he found passion in this quickly. And he just connected in such a way with the community. So it was a very positive thing. We were helping families and helping our own family at the same time. But I do always recommend our agents that we train, I like to hear of their goals. What is your reason? What is your why? And one of our top agents, Estella Rutgers, just recently shared her goals because her goals change. Estella has been with us for 3 years.
3 years.
And she is amazing. She and her daughter also joined, the team and Gabi. So recently, Estella shared her goal that she likes to work and towards her retirement like us. And she's able to send money to her parents who live in Ecuador. These are her goals. And she loves this business and she connects so well with the people. And that is when you do something and you connect with people, that is very important. The connection, and that goes hand in hand with discovery because we need to, ask these questions, find out why, if they've lost a loved one in the past, have they ever, planned a funeral? These are important questions. And I just wanted to share that, a new agent, especially in this business with final expense with Lincoln Heritage, try to maintain 6 months to a year, not to give up because it will happen. It will happen.
100%. And that's, for me, I've been really blessed to have some good mentors even prior to entering this industry. And that had such a huge impact. It was same thing whenever I started and I was so broke and we lost so many things. It was devastating to me and my wife. And, I had friends around me that were in the same industry that, their marriages broke up over, the financial stress and things. And so having someone that supports you, I think is hugely important. But then also when I came in, as I said, I've got to burn the boats, right? I can't give myself an ability to go back to mortgage or to, fail at this, right? So I've got to figure it out. And like you said, it's the activity. So the one thing I know I can control is my attitude and my activity. And if I talk to enough people, eventually, just like anything else, you're going to get better at it. And then taking it a step further of reverse engineering. This is how much I have to make per week, right? This is how many presentations I'm going to need to, based on my conversion rate. And, this is how many leads and hours I'm gonna have to put in. And so I think that's really important when people do that and they really break it down and then track their numbers. And I had a conversation with one of our agents. She still sells over the phone, but she's a single mom with 3 kids that are in high school. So she's being, torn. They all play sports. And so she's like, her half of her life is in the car, picking them up and taking them and doing all those things. But we were breaking her numbers down last night. And based on, she's only able to commit about 30 to 35 hours a week, but we broke down her net income for last month. She's making $96 an hour for every hour that she works in this industry.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
And that's her net income. And I just said, to me, that's such an awesome feeling to help people achieve, that type of, flexibility and freedom and level of income is phenomenal, right? Because I told her I got a W-2 job, that'd probably be $150-$160 an hour before taxes right here. And you have that complete freedom to work when and how you want. And if you put in the time, it can be not only rewarding, but financially rewarding as well.
And wait until the pay-through start growing also in the agents too, because, pay-through is beautiful. in this business.
100%, 100%. What are your, maybe some of your guys' goals now that you guys are starting to build an agency, and like what has been difficult, the transition? Because for a lot of people, it's like, you can go out and produce, you can you do things at a certain level, and then you're putting that time into developing other people, and also putting your trust of your income right into that. Has that been a learning experience, or kind of a difficult transition at all?
Yeah, it's been difficult as any business. The thing is to find people, the right person, because the thing is, like you say, you put in risk also your time to help new agents, to train them to you go outside and start knocking doors and do more training, and there's new people coming, but I know it's a risk, like in all businesses. You always gonna have risks, and we're starting to see, at least right now we have 2-3 agents, 15-20,000 agents that are doing the business. They're good examples. What I'm trying to do now is kind of like record videos and tell their testimonials to share with other people. But we continue, this. I know it takes time, but we're gonna find the right people just to start working with us.
The conversion rate on that, it's difficult because we have a list of a lot of agents that we have signed up that have joined and have fallen through. They just stop picking up the phone. We lose communication. And this is like Norberto says, it's after we have invested time in training with them. He takes them out to the field. And Norberto has done a great job in balancing still being an active agent, trying to maintain our own personal production while still training. And we just recently brought in 2 new agents. So, we're on the verge of training them and then taking them out. So yeah, you got to give a little bit of yourself, but we've learned that if that person doesn't, jump, we're not going to jump, because we have just seen this far too many times that we get real excited and we go full throttle, and then the person just, falls through, fizzles away. And sometimes we get agents that, make a cameo appearance after, Lincoln has, terminated them for inactivity, and they say, you know what, I'm ready to come back and I'm ready to do this and I'm ready to conquer the world. And we believe it and we want to help them. And it just is such a disappointment. And we're like, okay, so it's evolving. It's evolving always.
And
And
like,
I would just encourage you guys. Oh, go ahead.
like my dad says, it's part of the show. It's just part of the show, and we kind of like understand more and more the business, and it's just, as because you're learning with your clients, then you're learning with agents too. Kind of like the psychology, and see this person. You have to be very honest and just say, hey, I'm giving my time to you, and I just feel that you have to tell me how many hours are you willing to spend on a week. And then from there, we can start working on a schedule. And so
100%. And well, your guys' resilience and your thought process is phenomenal. Like, to me, you guys are going to build a fantastic agency. There's no doubt about that. The way that you view the business, it's going to naturally attract people that want that mentorship, that want that leadership that you guys are providing, because not everybody in the insurance industry is doing that. There's a lot of companies that they say, here's a contract and you should buy leads and good luck. You know what I mean? And so having that one-to-one, especially someone that's, you've done this at such a high level. I know you were you number 6 for the last contest? You were in the top 10, right?
and number 7.
Number 7 in the country, out of probably Lincoln's probably got, I would estimate 10,000 contracted agents, 8 to 10,000, somewhere in that range. And so to be in the top 10,
the first 2 years I was number 1.
That's
first year, and then the second and the third, the number 7.
That's freaking phenomenal, because to do that while you're building an agency, to me, I know, like, that's one of the hardest parts is when you're launching those first few years of your agency, because there's so much, we have to put in so much time. It takes away from our personal production. And then we're also, there's debt that people don't see, right? Like, everybody loves to make overrides, but there's debt when agents don't work out that rolls up, and be able to balance all that stuff is definitely, it takes a lot of commitment. So I praise you guys for that. That's awesome to see you guys doing it. And it's it's exciting because I know that you're on the right path, right? Now it's just finding those people, attracting those people that want the training that you guys and the mentorship that you provide.
Yes, absolutely. And it's taking baby steps because there's a lot to learn. And this, the back end of this, administrating agents. And, Norberto has done a really good job as an MGA. But it's a learning process. And we're taking it slow. I think we're going really fast in the beginning, and that's when we're seeing, what's happening, but again, it's a learning process. So right now we're working with 2 agents, instead of a handful to try to really dedicate time and get them out on the field with us. So that also helps us, we're active agents. So they get to see that too. And in our group, our agents are motivated when they see us writing. And sometimes we're coming home about 9 o'clock at night. Let's say we have an appointment at 7:30, and anywhere here in the Metroplex, you're going to be driving. So they're inspired because we post, our cells. Hey, we're able to help this family today. And so it really is, I think we're not just, twiddling our thumbs and sitting back and saying, hey, you got to go out there. We're still out in the field. And Roberto has a mindset that it's a strategy. Daily, he has to be active. His goal is to always try to close 1,000 AP a day. Even if it doesn't happen, it'll happen over the weekend. We'll maybe, close, 3,000 AP. He's always, has that in the forefront of our own personal, because at the end of the day, it's our business and we are trying to work towards that retirement.
Yeah, because in this business, a day can make, you can work a day, but you can make for a week, or you can work for a week and make for a month. This is the beauty of our business. And people that are watching your podcast, let me tell you, that Lincoln Heritage, it's the #1 company in the United States. And it has changed many lives, especially when you make it to those trips. Man, that our first time blew my mind, man. Just to know
It was amazing.
people, just talking to them, how they're working their agencies. And I was, as a good reporter that I am, I would ask a lot of questions. And it's unbelievable. This is going to be our 4th trip going to Cayman Island. We are ready. We're already qualified. Man, we're ready to launch.
And like Norberto said, they really treat you like royalty.
Yeah.
The trip to Rome, Italy was just amazing. I choke up with tears every time I enter the ballroom for the gala, and whether the one before was at the Conrad in Nayarit, Mexico, and just the way they decorated
Yeah.
the area for, that special, event, and the things that they rent and all the work they put in to make sure everything looks perfect. And when we were in Rome, I couldn't hold back the tears because you feel appreciated,
Yeah.
you feel valued, and you feel like, what, it's worth it. All my sacrifice, and, it's not an easy job, but this is why Lincoln pays the way they do, and they have these incentive trips, and it's a blessing. It has blessed our family. Absolutely.
You can have problems of anything except for money in
I
this
like that.
business.
If you got the work ethic, right? Money's will never be an issue.
And we like to travel. That is one of the things, because that was one of my bucket lists is, to go to Europe and go to different countries. And Lincoln Heritage has been the company, that has accomplished that on our lives. And we want to, probably next year we're going to Japan. So it's amazing. It's beautiful. We're very happy. And at the same time, learning. We're still learning, every time we talk to people like you and other agents, managers, I'm always learning.
Yeah. When you had Howard Geyer, right? He was on your podcast not too long ago. I mean, I was taking some notes,
Right.
because this is
He was He was asking us questions too, because we appeared there on the list, on the top 10 list. But at the same time, I would see this guy as a superstar. He is a superstar, man. I mean, Lincoln Heritage, Emmanuel, these people that are doing amazing things. And what I say, take your notes with these people, because you're always learning, and we're gonna continue just to grow and help other agents share, what we know, and continue with Lincoln Heritage.
That's such a powerful thing, right? And I have the same view. I've been in the industry now, and I'm coming up on 18 years this April. And it's like, when, doing this,
Congratulations.
getting to meet with people like you, I'm still learning every day, right? I still make mistakes. And I think, the biggest thing is just staying positive, continue moving forward, continue to be willing to learn, right? And that's a great thing about the environment and the culture of where we're at, is that everybody's willing to share. If you're willing to ask the right questions, and if you're willing to implement, you can really achieve whatever level of success that you want here. And, it's like same thing to us. It's been such a blessing to my family. The opportunity, the London family, the Berrigan family, just everything, right? And it's unimaginable of what you can really do here if you're willing to put in the time.
Congratulations, man. You're doing an amazing job. We love your podcast. And this is something that Lincoln has been helping so many cultures, to see, because we see Hispanics, we see, people from different parts of the world being part of this business. Everybody works different with the same mission. We all have the same mission in this business. But yeah, man, congratulations. Your podcast is also helping agents. We're going to share, of course, we always share, your podcast. And how long have you been with Lincoln? 18 years?
So April 1st will be 18 years. Yeah. So a little over 17 and a half years. Yeah.
So you were like, what, 10 when you started, or what?
Yeah. I think I was 25 when I came in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was
at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And my first month, I sold 62 policies that April. I was number one for Lincoln. It was just under 36,000, but I made every mistake that you could possibly make, right? But it was like, to me, I want to fail fast and fail often. I want to keep moving and keep working, right? And learn from those mistakes. And it's just the timing. It was definitely a God thing. It was definitely a blessing, at a very, very low point in my life. And it's been a blessing ever since.
25. Imagine that. That is having leverage there, because your age and the opportunity to build during all that time. That is great. Absolutely great. And you said something about failing. We learn from those, mistakes, and we learn. And a lot of people see failure and, hitting rock bottom as, this is a sign I'm not going to continue. But this is really how we learn. And I don't know, honestly, if I had given up, I was on the verge as I shared my story. And I thank the Lord that it was that last opportunity. I thought, I have the life. Let me try to see what I can do with final expense. And I'm so glad, because our family has benefited from this. Absolutely.
Yeah, we help my mother-in-law. I help my parents. We help our family. That's one of the things that you have to see with Lincoln. As Esme was mentioning a while ago, my goal was to get the benefits, the medical benefits. When I saw that Cigna card, we used to have
Molina, Obamacare, and it was the worst.
Oh man,
the worst. The Univision, we had lost all those good benefits.
The benefit. But when I saw the Cigna, and they would, I knew that was a great company. I said, that's my first goal. I want to do it. And she was going to sign. It was the beginning of the year. She said, I have to enroll. You want me to pay? I said, do not pay anything. I said, we're going to qualify, reach the amount of money they require, and we'll do it. And we did it. That's
awesome. So let's talk about, because again, I know a lot of agents, there's such a high failure rate. Give a couple tips, a couple pointers that would really, anybody that's watching this, that they can implement and immediately start seeing a return on. What would those recommendations be, or what should they do?
Well, I would say probably since the beginning, the person needs to be focused. You need to have a lot of focus on the business. This is something that you really want to do, because as we say, this business is not for everybody. Come on, sometimes we understand. But there's been people that has surprised us, when you see people that they're quiet, and those people, they start doing really good at the business. But one of the thing is focus. Another thing is you have to be coachable in connection with your upline always, because I think that's the key. For me, it was. The thing is when agents, they don't start answering the phone, they don't call you, they don't get in contact. So they're showing no interest. There's no interest there. But if people are watching your podcast and they're thinking about it and say, is this something for me? This business can change your life. But we as managers can give you the training, we can give you everything, but the effort it's up to you. That is up to you. You're the one who has to show us, what is it that you have to do the business. Like Esme says, you have to be coachable. More of listening than talking on trainings. There's a lot of people that are coming and start, telling about their stories.
Reinventing the wheel. They want to reinvent them.
This is something that it was already invented. You need to be coachable, let others to train you, have activity. You need to have activity since the beginning. Because I would say the first month, 2 months for most of the agents, it's really hard. It's not, it's because you're training, you're doing a lot of things at the same time. And don't be afraid, man. Don't be afraid. You just, if you start doing this business the right way, go outside and start knocking doors, learning, ask questions. Those things are good for you to start, your business the right way, the right path.
Absolutely. Also sharing, you don't have to know everything, because I'm that type of person. I want to know everything. But my desperation was I had wasted 4 months and then the 6 months studying. I started sharing. Even though I wasn't fully knowledgeable, I encourage everyone to read as much as you can, get into their portal and learn as much as you can about the business. But share with anyone and everyone. You need to be a fanatic almost when you're trying to, wherever you are, at the grocery store, at church, at the gym, try to share this opportunity. Hey, I don't know, just so you're aware, I'm now, an agent for helping families with final expense. And we're helping people who aren't able to obtain coverage with other companies. We're able to help those people that maybe have underlying issues. If you know of anyone, if you need this coverage of this, I can help you. So when you start sharing, that also is a plus, because believe it or not, that's when, that's how I did my first policy. I just shared with someone and he said, I'm interested. I want something like that for my dad. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, sure. Okay. I was so new in the business. I was scared, but it was more of my desire to do something.
Yeah.
I had to do something with these licenses. And so setting your goals is also imperative for, also this business isn't a short-term success. It's long-term. Once you understand that, I know our manager, so Ron Jarris, always tells us that this is a long-term business, and it's a partnership with your uplines. Once you start seeing this, this is my business, because a lot of these new agents, they think that they rely completely on the upline and say, well, I need this, I need that, or I am not successful because of this and that. You got to make yourself responsible to a certain point. You got to do it because the tools are there. And even if you go into YouTube, even looking at your podcast, you will learn. So there are learning tools everywhere. And so the excuses are so many that, these new agents need to just focus on doing and not complaining. And that's where you're going to see the success rate.
100%.
We have great managers too. Our managers also, they're still active. It's a manager, Eduardo Varas, upline. He he's been in the business for a long time, but he has his agency with his wife, Marcela Hefner, and they still active too
They're out there writing.
out there writing. So we have a great example too, for us to still doing that as we grow as a managers. But we are patients, man. We love the business. We have passion for this business. Sharing, like Esme says, always, well, every time we go to the store, everywhere, just pass cards and tell people what you do. And don't be afraid to take pictures with your clients. Take a picture with your client.
I like
And
that.
tell your clients to share those pictures with their family. Can you tell them, please, what you just did? You already have your coverage. And those people, they have callers because they want also to be covered. They want the information. And that's also part of our growing, on our business.
Yeah, those pictures are amazing.
We have hundreds of pictures. I would say thousands of pictures.
That's
a lot
freaking.
of pictures.
So you take a picture and then you tell them, like, put it on their Facebook and or their social media, or
I ask for permission. If I say, hey, I'm going to be doing something on Facebook and I use your picture, there's people that say, no, please don't.
Yeah.
Do it. But as we're finalizing, everything, explaining everything handing them the folder, Norb has already done his part. I'm doing my part. And I'll tell them the last thing we got to do is take a picture, if you will allow us. And they get excited. They're like, oh, okay. But with your folder. And it's a fun thing. We're posing with them and they love it.
I think I sent you some samples of those pictures.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's phenomenal.
Actually, the lady that we helped, her and her son yesterday, she was a referral from a client that we wrote a picture. That client we wrote in Greenville was some months ago, maybe 6-7 months ago. And she was referred to by them. And even Nort pulled the picture because I didn't remember her niece. And we just seen too many people. And once I saw the picture and the picture of a picture and other picture.
And the lady, right away, the lady said, yeah, that's the picture that I saw, because of that picture, I saw my, this is what I asked them for your number. And so everything helps, man. You just.
How much did taking that picture? So how much did taking?
Oh, we closed 1,700 AP last night. So
there you go. That is freaking awesome. That is awesome.
And that lady was so sweet. She's from El Salvador. I'm going to actually give her a call in a little bit because she felt a connection with us because her niece, they're clients of ours. And we had a really great connection with her. Such a sweet lady. And she gave us, and they're called pupusas. In El Salvador, she made them. And she said, I'm going to send you some. I just made some. And we actually had it earlier for brunch. And I'm going to give her a call to thank her again. But it's just stuff like that when you need this connection. Also, one other thing I want to mention is get some magnets made. I know Lincoln offers some, but I've done some creative magnets through Vista Print. And I have a picture of me and Norberto, our phone number. And, it helps because they put it on their refrigerator.
It's a billboard.
It stays forever, right? It stays forever.
That way, if someone else from another company comes by, they're going to feel that sense of, loyalty or even to call us. We always tell them, give us a call. If ever you have a question, you have our numbers there. And I'll even put it on the refrigerator for them. It's important to do that.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, when you guys are working, could you run me through like your strategy of how you work your leads and how you run your business on a day-to-day basis from an agent perspective?
Could you do that? I'm going to get some water at him real quick for us. Yeah, because I'm just a little bit parched here. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so okay. So when I go with leads, I know there's a lot of people that they make phone calls. I don't. I don't like to do that. I just grab my leads and usually 9:30, 10 a.m., that's when I start working and start knocking doors. But not only because the thing is that some people, they just focus on the leads and they can go from one lead to another lead. And I don't do that. knock on the door with the lead. If they don't open the door, there's a bunch of doors around that house. So I go around because those people, they receive the information from Lincoln Heritage. If they open the door, so I just mentioned, I go with my lead and I say, Miss Perez, how are you? This is Norberto Hernandez with Lincoln Heritage. You requested this information. I'm working on your area. I'm your local agent, and I'm here to help you. And at the same time, I have the book of the final my final wishes. So I have the book on the side too. And I tell them, and I'm going to help you to fill out this book with you. You give me 10 minutes because this is important. Do you know what kind of funeral do you want for your family? You want cremation? You want a regular funeral? And that's kind of like for me, start talking to them. If they, of course, we know that sometimes people say, I never request this information. It wasn't me or, okay. So I still go with the book. Don't worry. Sometimes there's agents that they tend to start like, I'm not saying fighting, but arguing with people. Well, this is you. I mean, you put your number here. I don't do that. I go with them. I go along and say, well, sorry, maybe there was a misunderstanding. Don't worry. I mean, don't you worry. I still have this final expense that I need to return to the company. I'm going to leave you one, and then there's another one that you can fill out. So it's just for me to go inside. I want to step inside the house. Do you have 5 minutes? Sir, I'm sorry, but I'm going out right now. I have an appointment. Don't worry. I can come back later. Can I come back later? Because this is important for you to have this. Can you come back at 7 p.m. so I can make an appointment? Most of the time, they let me in. Most of the time, when they see the book, and I'm not just showing one, I have like 3 or 4 books. And I said, you can keep one of these because this is free for you to have. And they let me in. But that's just for me to be inside. And once I'm inside, that's the most difficult thing for an agent, to go in. And once I'm in, there's going to be a big chance that I'm going to go out with a sale. And then do the pre-qualification. But first, if they let me in, knowing that they request the information, so I do the pre-qualification. I have a spreadsheet where I put their name. So your name is da da da. Do you smoke? I'm gonna ask you some questions, so pre-qualification questions, just to see if you qualify. Because some people don't qualify. Oh, really? People, they want to feel qualified.
Yeah.
So we go with all the health questions, if they take medications, and they're just, they're focused on the paper and see what you're writing. And, kind of like, I feel like a doctor,
I'm back. And we've never had anyone, I think maybe just one person out of all the people that we've done the pre-qualification that they don't want to do it. But it's everyone is willing to share that information right away. And I'll tell them if they don't remember their names, especially like I said, if we're dealing with someone that doesn't have that social security number, I tell them, do you mind if I see your medications? Oh, yes, yes. And they'll pull it out. Sometimes we spend about 25 minutes talking about, the medications. I'm writing it down, and the significant health questions. And they really see the importance of how serious we are about this. And the fact that we've been in this business, we already know a lot of these medications, and that helps because they're like, wow, this person really knows, and we tell them if they have diabetes, we tell them, well, that diabetes, is it under control? And then that's when we ask the significant health question on the last 2 years. And then we say, then, Lincoln still is able to help you with that immediate coverage. So this is a good thing because there are people that have, dialysis or on dialysis, and we can still qualify them, but it would be a different plan and a different rate.
Yeah.
So once they understand these things and that that premium gets locked in for how they qualify today, you qualify today for this, because if they want to think about it, we tell them, well, we cannot guarantee that you will qualify. This is only today
Yeah.
that you're qualifying for this, because of course they may have a birthday or they may get ill, which we have had many people that during the process of I want to think about it, they get a diagnosis and they call Norberto quickly Some of them have even called him from the hospital. And, it's like they're regretting. So we share these testimonies. Also, that has been our success rate. Because, like Norberto says, he already knows the profile of the person and he'll start pulling testimonies of other people. And he's just gotten really in tune to that, being perceptive of that mentality of that person, and you got to be creative in that sense. They're your testimonies, or use someone else's testimonies if you're so new in the business.
Hmm.
But these testimonies are real. And the fact that we also, another thing is, we use also the current events that are currently happening. People that pass away due to a massive flooding, people that pass away unexpectedly due to a shooting. We see this every day. And it's putting a sense of urgency, in these people. And we're not trying to scare them. It's just a real thing. And it's also, I like to convey to them that death is not chronological. It's not. One day, and people die today. That's what Norm always tells them. Today, someone will die. Who it is, we don't know. It could be you. It could be me.
Yeah, because people
We
don't
put
die
on the show.
yesterday or tomorrow. People always die today.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a day today, just to kind of like for them to put on a perspective.
Here's more.
And what one of the thing is, once when I'm talking to them, is the way I look at them, at their eyes. Always that says you need to be focused and be serious.
Hmm.
Don't be nervous. Because sometimes you're trying to go by the book or by the way, kind of like a robot, where you have a certain way of talking to everybody. And the way I do it is kind of like doing an interview, because I want to know why they requested this information. The discovery questions are very important at the beginning too. What is the reason that you requested this information? And then just, for me, it's more listening to them than me talking about, oh yes, and you have this, and you have the benefits, and then just people start crossing their arms. It's why is the reason that you requested this information, Miss Perez? Oh well, because you already went to a funeral. Some of your family, some of your member families that already passed away. Yes, my sister, my husband. What happened? Listen to them.
Hmm.
Because they lose focus of the sense of you sell to them. You don't want to sell. You just want to have a conversation at the beginning, doing the discovery questions. If there's a couple, I always go with their husband and or to the wife and say, ma'am, if your husband, if he passes away today, do you have $12,000, $15,000 on your pocket to pay for his funeral? And then stay quiet. Oh no! And the husband start talking. Well, I said, sorry, sir, but you already passed away. And everybody starts laughing. But I say, I'm sorry. She's gonna be alone, and I'm sorry to be, like that. But no. I said, but this is the
Reality. Yeah.
reality. When someone passes away, you cannot help your wife. She's gonna be alone.
Sean.
What is it that you're gonna do? Where are you gonna get the money from? Well, I'm gonna have to sell food, probably asking money to my family. So I let them, saying, and then I turn around, I look at the guy and say, now I can ask you something. Do you want that for your wife? I mean, that is like,
Powerful.
boom. It's like, I do not want that for my wife. That's a sell right there.
Yeah. That's powerful. That's powerful.
And that's exactly what Norberto said. We engage with them first. He hasn't even begun to explain the benefits. We're doing the pre-qualification first. Then he starts in, he'll show our licenses and about Lincoln that have been helping families for the past 60 years. It's kind of like an elevator speech. And then he says, why did you request this information? Is there, what was the reason? So he stays quiet and he lets them share. And it's a conversation at their, dinner table, and we're listening attentively. I make notes, so I'll remember also. And that way, we're courteous also. If they have lost a loved one, we give them our condolences at that time. And we have sat with parents that have lost their children and have paid $17,000. And they tell us the stories, and it's hard not to connect with someone who's hurting.
Yeah.
They're hurting. And this is you got to have some sense of compassion and just listen to them. And those people usually are ready. They're in pain and they're going through this loss. Now, we have had people that have lost, children and grandchildren in a horrific accident. And it's taken them 3 years to get any coverage for themselves. So, you literally are faced with a lot of stories, harsh testimonies, even people that have lost loved ones that their death has come out on the news. It's been a homicide. I kid you not. We have covered people, families that are connected with those that come out on the news that were killed at their apartment. And we're like, they say, didn't you see it on the news? And we're like, yes, I do recall that, so it's really, it's a connection, that it just, and the more and more that Norberto, he's known as the person of the final expense, insurance. He's an insurance man.
I love that. I love that. That's, you're everything that you guys are doing, that's why you're so successful, right? And you're building those relationships. Do you see that translate to help your retention and also the referrals that you get?
Yes.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. Because at the end, also, we get referrals. We start asking, from 1 to 10, what do you think about the service that we offer? Well, 10, we love it, or 20, sometimes. Okay. And then just have the paper and pencil and say, who will be the next person, of one member of your family that you can give me 3 or 4, please, so we can help them, and then start writing. Or sometimes make them, make a phone call. You think you can call them and just right there and do an appointment and say, hey, I already helped your mom, I help your sister. And then but at the end, we have to be kings of objections. We have to always know every objections are like sense. They're all the same. No, they're all the same. But what is it how can you become an expert? Activity. You need to have a lot of activity. You need to know the objections and understand the objections. And then, you have to come up with the objection and let me think about it. That is a very common objection of let me think about it.
How do
So
you,
what I do is,
I was gonna say, how do you overcome that?
I always, what I do is, I said, as I always say to my agent, say, do not go against, just say, okay, sometimes we do the takeaway, so they can see that we are in a hurry because sometimes we have to help other people. And let me ask you something, Adam. I know you want to think about it. Do you want to think about it covered or uncovered? I'm sorry, covered or uncovered. So I put the
Yeah.
higher covered.
Yeah.
But mentally, they say they're going to go here, right? Adam, I know you want to think about it. Do you want to think about covered or uncovered? Having coverage right now or uncovered?
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
You're going to say covered. I said, okay, excellent. You're going to think about it like that. So we're going to give you a whole month. 1 month, you're going to be covered. You're going to think about it, but you're going to be covered. And it's free. Really? Yeah, it is free. Well, you're going to pay your first month, okay? Just your first month. Now, I know you want to think about it. Maybe you're going to be looking on, with some other companies. You're not going to find anything better than Lincoln Heritage. I'm going to tell you that. But if just in case that you find something, you can always cancel. But guess what? If something happens to you, Lincoln is going to be there for you. So people kind of like, they like that. They change and say, oh, wow. I said, I want to be covered, because a lot of people, most of the people don't have anything.
Or it's asking them also how much longer do you need? You don't have anything in place right now, because we already covered that question in the beginning. If they have a current insurance coverage, they'll tell me yes or no. And when they say no, we're already closing that objection. Well, I know, Mr. Perez, you shared with me you don't have anything in place right now. Why do you want to continue thinking about it? We're here. Let's get something. And at that point, I start doing another quote to lower it a little bit, because that's what it is. That means they're not able to pay it, but they may be embarrassed to, say that they can't afford it.
Percent. And anybody that you're walking away, I had an experience where I let a couple do that. And this was when Lincoln it was so long ago, they had a different product of preferred. And every time they scheduled an appointment, they would cancel. And then one time I happened to be in the area and literally the wife had passed away the night before, had an aneurysm or something, and the husband was so upset, and it made me feel terrible, right? Because I'm like, I would have rather taken the charge back and known that that family was covered. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have the money, right? Nobody thought, they were perfectly healthy, that something was going to happen. But like you said, people die today. We never know when our time is. You know what I mean? No matter how healthy we are, or this, God's the only one that that knows that. And so, and I would do the same thing whenever I'd get to think about objection, would be to try and talk when I'm meeting and talking with people, is try and treat them like they're my own family, right? Like I'm talking to my own parents, and just be honest with people. It's like, look, you're 70 years old. You've had 70 years. You don't have it. If I walk out of here, the reality is 9 out of 10 times you're going to pass with nothing in place, and your family's going to be left with that burden. It's not a matter of, do you need it? It's just a matter of how much you can afford, right? And if it's only $15 a month, let's at least put something in place, right? So your daughter's salary is taken care of, so that it doesn't leave that extra stress at one of the worst times in a person's life, right?
Absolutely.
It's true.
Anything else that you guys want to add before we wrap up? It's been awesome. It's been
a
really fun.
pleasure.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure to connect with you today, and just moving forward in this wonderful career and this business. And I encourage all those new agents out there not to give up prematurely. Don't do it, because you're working towards your future. And honestly, what Lincoln pays is just amazing. You don't have to wait a month or 2 months, or you're not even getting a 15% commission. We're talking about good pay, and it's because of this reason. It has its challenges, but we get paid well. And once you learn these objections and how to handle certain aspects of the business, you will soar, and you'll be so happy you stuck with it. Your family will benefit.
Yes, Adam, thank you so much. I mean, well, people need to know Lincoln Heritage, this is a company that has been there for more than 60 years already. You've been representing by a great franchise. This is kind of like a franchise. We tell people, you have to spend a lot of money to get a franchise on McDonald's or any other franchise, $1 million. How much is Lincoln asking us, to be part of their team? Zero. Zero for a great opportunity. You just need to be focused, be in touch with your upline. If you really want to do this, have in mind that if you have a full-time job, you're not happy, or, you're not making the money that you want to make. So focus on just leave that job and prepare for the best, because the best part of this business is going to be coming to you. But you just need to have activity, be in contact with your upline, start growing, start seeing podcasts with Adam. I mean, you're always learning. This is so great, because the thing is, participate on meetings, Zooms. I mean, any meetings that your upline it's offering, be part, because it doesn't matter if we already see being in the business 6 years, I've been in the business 5 years. My upline, Eduardo Varas and Marcela Hefner, they still have meetings, and we participate in the meetings. We're still rookies. It doesn't matter. We're still learning, and we are sharing, what we do. And that way you're going to see a big change in your life. You're going to be helping your family, your parents. You can do a lot of things. And always mention to agents, if you start making good money, just remember, don't spend it all. Use your money wisely, invest your money, because, also money can go fast. But this is the best business to be part of.
Yeah, well, and I need to make a correction there, Adam. Norberto's not a rookie anymore.
He's definitely not.
He's a great white. He's a great white.
Yes, definitely.
He tears it up.
That's awesome. And I want to share your guys' information. If it'll be okay, if you want, you can either, if you want to give out any of your social stuff, and in either way, we'll put it down below in the video. Because I would definitely encourage anybody that's, in your area to reach out. You know what I mean? I think that you guys are, you're a powerhouse of a couple, and anybody that has the opportunity to link up with you guys definitely should. I'm excited for your future, and excited for what you guys are building for you and your family and their legacy as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you can find us on TikTok, and Norberto Hernandez with my name, Norberto Hernandez. We are on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and we always post things, with our clients also, and connect with what we're doing in the business.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Yeah, once we end, send me that info and we'll include it in there because I definitely want to
Okay.
encourage anybody to reach out to both you guys.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, Anna.
Hey, well, thank you guys. All right, and we'll see you guys soon.
Okay.
See.
Absolutely.
You guys
Bye-bye.
have a
Bye.
great day.